ערב טוב. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אחת שאלתי אותה אבקש, אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אחת שאלתי אותה אבקש. שבתי שבתי בבית אדוני, שבתי שבתי כל ימי חיי, שבתי שבתי בבית אדוני, שבתי שבתי כל ימי חיי, לחזות בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו, לחזות בנועם Adonai, to gaze upon the beauty of Adonai. One thing I ask you, Adonai, to be with you all of my life. One thing I ask you, Adonai, to be with me all of my life. Achat sha'alti meit Adonai, achat sha'alti אותה אבקש.
Good evening and welcome to Congregation Micah. I am Rabbi Flip on behalf of Rabbi Lori and Cantor Josh, our entire staff, the board, and all of our members. I want to welcome you into this sacred space. The words Achad Sha'alti are from Psalm 27, and in the psalm, which is longer than what you just heard, the author describes an enemy from a distance, approaching, preparing, and attacking. And nevertheless, the poet is calm. The opening structure reflects both this growing threat and its total disappearance. The three verses sort of increase numerically. There's these two parallel words of 5 and then 6 and then 7, and they hint at completion with 7. And then what follows is 1. Facing all of the threats that are out there, the psalmist feels this peace of unity. Throughout the first half, the reader senses no doubt. Oddly, the second half of the psalm depicts a world totally opposite. Here there is a desperate search, a constant request, a pleading before the Holy One. Do not hide your face. Do not thrust me aside. Do not abandon or forsaken me. And surrounded by enemies, the psalmist cries out in agony, had I not the assurance that I would enjoy the goodness of God in the land of the living? Faith. Faith is the sole remaining thread connecting the poet to life. And throughout the second half is this echo of unity. The psalmist cries out, demands, really asks, pleading that the two worlds become one. I, the sufferer, am the same I who trusts, the one who is safe, who sits in the presence of the holy. Before we can approach repentance or experience the highs and the joy of the high holy days, we must honestly confront our own faith. We all want the rewards of God's protection. And too often we see our trials and our tribulations as challenges to our faith. But the psalmist testifies that love of the Holy One is achieved, not by closing one's eyes, but rather through effort, honest and open communication. The psalm reflects an integration of difficult circumstances, together with security. The very poem itself is a model and a puzzle, and it's a challenge to all of us. We cannot escape life's troubles on the one hand, and yet we can still live within a framework of faith. All of us struggle. We struggle with ourselves, with other people, with Judaism, in an expectation that we will arrive at these days of awe, ready for repentance, ready to celebrate the holiday with a full heart. Faith is found, Judaism tells us, and the psalmist reminds us, through the search. Achad sha'alti me'et Adonai ota avakesh. I ask only one thing of you, God, the one thing I seek. Shviti b'veit Adonai kol yamei chayecha, that I may dwell in the house of Adonai all the days of my life. During the High Holy Days, it can sometimes feel like we are dwelling in the house of the Lord forever. The services are long and the tasks are heavy. We do not have to go it alone. For thou art with me, the psalmist reminds us. And we also have each other. We wrestle with ourselves and with one another in safety and security of community. That process officially begins now as we separate from the Sabbath and begin our Selichot, the words for Havdalah.
La 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Borei peri hagafen, borei peri hagafen. Lai la 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 la. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei vesamim borei minei vesamim ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei meorei ha'esh borei meorei ha'esh ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Hamavdil ben kodesh lechol Hamavdil ben kodesh lechol Hail ילדי במהרה בימינו יבוא אלינו עם משיח בן דוד עם משיח בן דוד אליהו הנביא אליהו התשבי אליהו הגלעדי.
It has been our custom at this first service that brings us together communally into the Holy Day time and spirit that we ask some of our members to share how something they've experienced since the last High Holy Days and this has fundamentally changed them, changed how they perceive themselves or how they approach their Judaism, or how they just approach their life in general. So I'm delighted to welcome our first speaker, Aaron Wheatus, to come and share with us this evening.
We don't say Shabbat Shalom, Shavua Tov. I was like, wait, that threw me off. Okay, my name is Aaron Wheatus, and I'm the team captain for Nashville's chapter of Nice Jewish Runners. I want to start by thanking so many of our wonderful Micah members, the rabbis, Josh and Andrea, and everybody for supporting NJR in the last year. The closer we get to High Holidays and October 7th, I've been reflecting on who I was a year ago, 2 years ago, and how I was living my life. I'd just gotten back into my running journey and could only do a few miles. I felt pretty connected to the Jewish community here and had a lot of friends and opportunities outside of it. Then fast forward to October 7th, we know what happened, and obviously following October 7th, Jewish people all over felt this pull to be together. 4 days later, in a quest for community and maintaining his own running journey, our founder Ezra Feig put out an Instagram post, and his call was simple. If there was an interest in a solidarity run in New York, he'd arrange it. Sure enough, the response was there, and our founding New York chapter hosted their first run in Central Park on October 20th, 2023. Now we have chapters in nearly 24 cities around the world. So how did Nashville's chapter become what it is today? It was October 7th, 2023, and I still remember sitting in that East Nashville donut shop after finishing a hilly and chilly autumn morning run. A few months prior, I'd found a new running group and routinely began joining them. We'd usually meet at a coffee shop, run from there, come back, and then hang out for coffee, bagels, donuts, all that. It was a nice way for me to get back into running as well as meet new people. Once we finished the route that day, we eagerly waited in line, a little sweaty, browsing that morning's pastry selections. The conversations were flowing as each of us grabbed our coffee and sat down and shared what our week was like. Not long after we sat down, my phone began going off with alerts that Israel was under attack. I was trying to focus on being with friends, but with every new buzz, I was getting more and more concerned. I finished the conversation I was having and excused myself. Hours, days, and weeks went on. I was still attending runs with this group, but over time, their founder began posting disturbing words and images to their personal social media page. Their platform eventually began feeling like a Jewish punching bag. Finally, after a post making some comparison to what Palestinian prisoners were going through to the Holocaust, and this leader stating that all we learned how to do was pay it forward, that was it for me. I stopped attending runs. There's a section of the prayer book that I use that reads, "Once or twice in a lifetime, a man or woman may choose radical leaving, having heard Lech Lecha, go forth. God disturbs us toward our destiny by hard events and freedom's now urgent voice. We don't like leaving, but God loves becoming." And becoming was exactly what I didn't know needed to happen. I had to leave a space that I no longer felt welcome in and have the courage to keep moving, literally. Stride by stride, I continued my running journey, sometimes with friends, and many of the miles were done alone, which allowed for a lot of thought and reflection. In April of 2024, I came across an Instagram reel from a Nice Jewish Runners account. Their video was filled with love, smiles, and a community running together in New York. I fell down a rabbit hole of their content and reached out to see if they had a Nashville or Tennessee chapter, because at that point, I was willing to drive anywhere. Their response was not yet. So eager to fill this void within me, I began reaching out to any and everyone, asking how they'd feel about having a Jewish running and walking club here in town. And like with New York, we got a very positive response. I was just hoping action would follow. And then fast forward to June 2nd, 2024, we had our first run in 12 South and have continued weekly since then, averaging between 15 to 20 community members each week, and sometimes that climbs depending on what's happening. The goal of creating this space here was to build community. And with that, we understand that there are many levels of movement. So we have runners, joggers, walkers, people who alternate. And the response from friends, friends of friends, local businesses, both Jewish and non-Jewish, has been incredible. In the last year and 3 months, we've gotten to celebrate runners getting personal bests at races, racing for the first time, Shabbat dinners, birthdays, weddings, our first Nice Jewish crawler, and many more events. When the world feels less positive than we'd like, we always have the pavement and one another. Community is more important now than ever, and we've seen the positive impact that's had. NJR meets weekly, varying locations, so we can see different parts of town, and we offer 1.5 and 3 mile route, and then those who can, we stay for bagels, coffee, and good community. As we enter into the high holidays, I'd encourage you to go forth. Disturb yourself, your routine a bit. Try something new. If you've been looking for community or a new challenge, do it, don't wait. Whether it's alone or with a friend, I believe that taking one of those first courageous strides will lead to personal growth, and who knows, there could be a whole new community, one that you didn't even know was needed. So here's to becoming in 5786.
You know, I've read that poem in our prayer book so many times, and I really don't think I ever understood it until you shared it tonight in the context of your experience. So I really loved it, and I will always think of you when I read that now.
Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom. Actually, that's the wrong one.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start over.
It's a really pretty one.
Let's try this one. Hashivenu, Hashivenu Adonai Elecha V'nashuva V'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Kedem Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Kedem. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Hashivenu, Hashivenu Adonai Elecha V'nashuva V'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Kedem.
This past fall, summer? I can't remember when you all were in Israel.
Summer.
Summer. Yes, I should know. All time blurs, I feel, in this last year. Cantor Josh was joined by numerous members of our broader Nashville community and 2 of our Micah members in particular, Mike and Eva Marquis. And it was quite a time to be in Israel. They did not realize that soon after arriving that Israel was going to launch a surprise attack on Iran. And Eva and Mike are here to share about their experience. Good evening.
In June, we returned from what was supposed to be just a one-week volunteer trip to Israel, but ended up being one of the most meaningful and emotional experiences of our lives. We went with a group largely made up of Nashville Jews, which included Cantor Josh, plus other Jewish adults from around the U.S. on a birthright organized volunteering trip. I can safely speak for the group in saying all of us had felt, in one way or another, shaken and helpless since October 7th. This trip gave us a chance to show up and help our brothers and sisters in Israel.
For the first 4 days, we volunteered with different organizations. At the Talamim Animal Center and Farm, we worked with an organization that supports those with special needs, including PTSD, caring for the animals and the garden. At a surplus warehouse in our partnership region, Hadera, Iran, organizing and packing clothes for displaced families. At Chasdei Naomi in Jerusalem, packing food for families in need and Holocaust survivors. And on a farm in Gaza, in the Gaza envelope, working in the greenhouses left understaffed since the war began, and where we heard explosions from miles away. In each opportunity, we felt a deep sense of purpose and were met with immense gratitude. The afternoon in the Gaza envelope was spent visiting the car graveyard of Tecuma, where the burnt and salvaged vehicles from October 7th are collected, and the Nova Music Festival site. Both memorial sites were difficult to bear, yet at the same time, deeply meaningful. We felt both grief and connection to those who were lost and those that keep their memory alive.
With little time to process our heavy experience, that night while we were out in Tel Aviv, Israel struck Iran's nuclear sites. We calmly found shelter and ultimately made it back to our hostel, where we woke up the next day to find Tel Aviv Pride had been canceled out of caution. We walked to the beach and spent the day in the sun, refusing to let fear guide our plans. Then Friday night, Iran struck back. We went to the bomb shelter 5 times that weekend, all hours of the night, and each time people were singing and dancing and laughing. We danced the hora for Camden's birthday. Cantor Josh had his guitar. We made friends. We were immediately witnesses to the fact that you can threaten our lives with missiles and bombs, but you cannot take away our joy. Shortly thereafter, the great birthright exodus began. We were hauled off to the Dead Sea for 2 nights, and from there sent to the port of Ashdod, where we boarded a cruise ship of 1,500 birthright participants. We were escorted out of Israeli waters by an Israeli naval ship and crossed the Mediterranean overnight to Cyprus. It was surreal. Stressful, yes, but also deeply sobering to suddenly leave Israel under those circumstances. After a night in Cyprus, where the local Chabad took care of us, we flew to Cologne, Germany, took a bus to Frankfurt, and finally flew home to America. The journey was long and tiresome, but we were grateful to have been taken care of and protected the whole way.
Cantor Josh led our group in a Friday night Shabbat service at our hostel back in Tel Aviv and asked everyone to describe their experience thus far in one word. Eva's word was pride, and mine was togetherness. We saw and felt both everywhere, in yellow ribbons and signs for the hostages, Israeli flags flying from every available post, and in the people constantly showing up for each other in both crisis and celebration. We are proud to be Jews. We have pride in our people, pride in the land of Israel, pride in the way we show up for each other even thousands of miles from home. In Israel, you feel what it means to be part of something bigger than yourself. As Jews, we carry each other through everything, grief, joy, and all the complexities in between.
We came back with heavy but full hearts. We're proud to have supported Israel even just for a short time, and we know we'll return. Until then, what we can do here matters just as much, staying informed, speaking up, giving tzedakah, and holding each other close, and remembering that showing up for our people and celebrating life, whether in Tel Aviv or here in Nashville, is one of the most powerful things we can do. Shana Tova.
I want one too.
Love you.
Ashamnu is the prayer that one of the many prayers that we are very familiar with, where we beat our chests and we confess a litany of sins. And it's in the plural because we talk about not just our own failings, but that we are responsible for the failings of all in our community, so the person sitting to your right and the person sitting to your left. The problem with the we-ness of this is that it's easy to leave the I and just sink into the we. So while we just have the Hebrew words today for our Ashamnu, think about perhaps maybe 1, 2, 3, I could probably think of more, elements of myself that I could really work on in this next year. So maybe you choose 1, 2, or 3 that are fitting for you, and take those into your Ashamnu this evening.
Ay 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 Ashamnu
Ashamnu,
Bagadnu
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu
Gazalnu,
Dibarnu Dofi
Dibarnu Dofi,
Ay 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 Hevinu
Hevinu,
Vehirshanu
Vahirshanu,
Zadnu
Zadnu,
Hamasnu
Hamasnu,
Tafalnu Shakir
Tafanu Shaker,
Ay 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 Kizavnu
Kizavnu,
Latsnu
Latsnu,
Maradnu
Maradnu,
Niatsnu
Niatsnu,
Sararnu
Saranu,
Avinu
Avinu,
Ay 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 Pashanu
Pashanu,
Sararnu
Saranu,
Kishinu Oref
Kishinu Oref,
Ay 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 Rashanu
Rashanu,
Shichatnu
Shichatnu,
Tiavnu
Tiavnu,
Tainu
Tainu,
Titanu
Titanu,
Ay 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 ay.
So it wasn't part of our Shabbat plans in the Rice House, but Rabbi Flip had a flat tire, and we needed to get a new one. So I said, while you're teaching Torah study, I will take the car to Discount Tire. I'll leave it there. I'll take my grocery bags, walk to Trader Joe's, do my grocery shopping. I'll take an Uber back to the car. It'll be very efficient. And then I'll come home. So everything really worked according to plan. And I had my 4 grocery bags from the market, and I called the Uber to go the mile back. And this very lovely gentleman picked me up, and I could hear that he had a Middle Eastern accent. And I said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "I'm from Lebanon." And I said, "Oh, I've had great wine from Lebanon," which is just always my go-to. Nobody can fault you for that. Nobody doesn't like you because you say that. You're not like automatically a threat. I said, "From the Baca region. It was really good." And then I said, how long have you been in America? And he said, 3 years. And I said, "Do you like it here?" And he said, "America's wonderful." I said, "Really? I'm so glad to hear that." He said, "My wife has a job, and I have a job, and my kids go to school for free." And I said, I'm thrilled. I'm so happy you love it here. He said, "See all this grass?" We were at a light. "See all this grass? And it gets watered like every other day. And there's just grass and water all the time." And it was so funny because I realized I'm not nearly as appreciative as this man for the simple things that we are afforded and so lucky to have. And I find myself too often preoccupied with what's going wrong or what's not working right or what I don't yet have or what I haven't yet achieved. And he was so delighted that his wife had a job at Target and he's an Uber driver and they can pay their rent and that their kids go to good Williamson County schools for free. He said 3 times, for free. And it was only a mile, but we had the most delightful conversation, and I can tell I'm in the spirit and the mode of the holy days, because it really moved me, and I've been thinking about it all day long. One of my Asham news was, I need to be more grateful for everything I have, because it's so much. So may we all hear those inner voices. Shema Kolenu.
Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chus v'rachem aleinu, v'kabel berachamim, uvratzon et tfilateinu. Won't you hear our voice above all the noise, and have mercy on our soul? We are in your care. Won't you hear our prayer and forgive us, forgive us. Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chus v'rachem aleinu, v'kabel berachamim, uvratzon et tfilateinu. When we've lost our way, give us one more day to return to what is true. Won't you take us in so we can begin a new year? Won't you please hear? Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chus v'rachem aleinu, v'kabel berachamim, uvratzon et tfilateinu, uvratzon et tfilateinu, uvratzon et tfilateinu.
For our last congregant that we invited to share on how their life has changed this past year, I'd like to invite Leah Hassan to come up and share in a conversation with me. Hi, Leah.
Hi.
So, Leah, to begin, because I'm guessing that most people here may not know you,
Sure.
although she's an Indiana University grad, as is her husband, and that's where my son goes to school, and we are sorority sisters.
That's true.
Okay, but tell us about your family and your kids.
Okay, so my husband, who had to work tonight, otherwise I would have forced him to be here. We have 3 kids. We have a 9th grader at USN, we have a 6th grader at USN, and we have a 2nd grader at Harding. They actually were all, they had their births here or at our house or here. One of them peed on the seat out there 10 years ago, sorry. But they went to Micah Children's Academy, Sunday school. My oldest was bar mitzvah 2 years ago, which was incredible. Lynn had to deal with my oldest every day. He cried all day. He's grown since then. But my middle child, Max, was born a boy. And this year, she told us that she was a girl, transgender. So to me, I just know her so well, and I was like, okay, well, I already knew, but
So can you just give us a little bit of Max's journey?
yeah, Max is the 11-year-old, 6th grade. She uses she, her pronouns now, so I will say she, and I hope that everyone can follow this. She sort of started pulling away from all of us. And there was one point when she was in 3rd grade where she broke down in tears and said, I feel like you don't know me anymore, which broke my heart because as a parent, you want to know every single thing about your kids. And I felt like I did, but I didn't. And so she told me, I don't feel like a boy. And I said, okay, that's all right. You're like, I love you just the same. Because again, when you're a parent, you just love your kids. And I hope that a lot of you can identify with that specific feeling. And I said, well, what do you feel like? She said, I don't know. I don't feel like a boy. I don't feel like a girl necessarily. Maybe. I think I'm non-binary. And that term was not new to me, but if it's new to you, it just means I'm a person. So at the time, Max's younger brother was 3. And I said, okay, so Josh, Max wants to tell you something about, at the time, himself. Max is not a boy. Max is not a girl. Max is a person. And he said, oh, so like not a robot or anything, like a human. And we were like, yeah, just like a human. Not a robot, not an animal, just a human. Okay. And so from 3rd grade to 5th grade, even my littlest one used the pronouns they, them without a blip in time. And my oldest, Ari, was like, okay, because kids get it. And I would say adults, it takes longer, which I completely understand. It's very new. Yeah. So we've lived for 3 years with Max being they, them, non-binary. We've gone through all of the things that you can imagine. But this summer, Max said, I have thought about it a lot, and I just want to let you know that I am trans. And I said, okay, well, tell me more. And she said, I really feel like I was born in the wrong body, and I'm having a really hard time with that. And of course, I would also have a really hard time with that. So we're a very, very tight, close-knit family. So we had no problems with this when Max was telling us this. My parents, who are 70 and 75, they kind of were like, what? And we had to describe it. And then they said, of course we love Max. Max is our world. My grandmother, who just turned 96, she goes to Shabbat services every single Friday in Florida, and she was here for my oldest's bar mitzvah a couple years ago. She said, I just want Max to be happy. I just want her to be happy, and she looks beautiful with long hair. And that's all she said. It was just, we love Max.
So we love Max too. I love that you have trusted this community to embrace your family, and that you sent this email to us at the end of the summer, not too long ago, saying, heads up, Max is a girl, and we couldn't have been more excited about that, and just to embrace you all. Do you feel, what has changed for you, if anything, as a mom? Has that been, or maybe how other people see you as a mom? What have been the highs, and maybe, I hope there haven't been lows, but.
Oh, there've been a lot of lows.
I'm sure there've been some lows.
Yeah, there've been a lot of lows, but I think as a mom, I don't know if any of you as parents, like when your kid is like, my head hurts, I don't want to go to school. You're like, get over it. You're going to school.
Yeah.
You're not sick. Go to school. I kind of, for a while, was like, okay, you're fine. Like, we're a good family, and we love you, and we take care of you. Like, you're fine. And it got to the point where it was not fine because I wasn't able to put myself in her shoes. I was born a girl, and I'm a girly girl. I've always been super girly girl. I was in sorority. Like, I really, truly, I thought I could put myself in her shoes, but I can't. And so she really challenges me to think about, okay, I'm a 6th grader, an awkward little 6th grader, like all 6th graders are. They don't know anything, and they think they know everything. And not only do I have to be an awkward sixth grader, but I have to go as the only gender non-conforming, meaning boy, girl, kid in the entire middle school. And I'm trying to dress like I want to dress. I'm trying to affirm my gender and answer, understandably stupid questions from little sixth grade buttheads, and like try to also get all A's and live my life. And I can't put myself in her shoes. So all I have to say is I have to really try hard to not be like, ugh, do your math, like it's fine.
Right.
I have to really think about, oh, this day was really hard for you because you had to deal with a lot today that I'll never understand, as much as she tells me everything and every single emotion that she has, but I'm never going to understand. So that's my challenge.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, I know Judaism has always been important to you, to Jeff, to your family. Is there, what, if anything, and maybe you haven't thought about this before, except I gave you the question in advance, what, if anything, in Judaism has been supportive or helpful or guiding?
Yeah, first of all, I feel so fortunate to be a member here because your emails back were so nice. I actually cried real tears. Oh. They were so nice. And just being in a welcoming space is such a win because we live in Tennessee and, so many people that we come in contact with are Christian. And it's pretty well defined in Christianity what is right and what is wrong. And what I love about Judaism is that we're kind of taught to question, or it feels like that at least. I question a lot.
Yeah.
And
you do, but we are.
And Max this summer, which was like our big struggle summer, was at Gucci, which is a Jewish camp in Indiana. And my kids have been going there forever. And she really had a tough time. And this is maybe making you uncomfortable to say this, but she said, if God is real, why did God put me in the wrong body? And I don't have an answer to that. And maybe you have a session with her. But the rabbis there were incredible, but it's a tough question. Yeah. And I'm glad that Judaism, it's not black and white, Yeah. Like you probably have gotten that question before in different iterations.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that even biologically born women who still identify as she, her, and same with guys, don't always feel comfortable in their bodies and don't, so it's a different level of that, but, how many of us feel awkward in our bodies and like it's not always the right fit, or we don't fit in, or 1 foot out or 1 foot in, or I think there's different iterations. But anyway, we'll have a conversation.
Yeah. But I think that's the nice part about being Jewish, that I could refer back to like, hey, you've learned forever that you're not like some of your other friends in church sitting there thinking I'm going to hell because this is the way I was born.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. Again, my grandma, who's probably at Temple right now in Florida, she never once was like, you are wrong. Yeah. I don't love you because you're not the way the Bible tells you to be.
Yeah.
So I felt very embraced by this community specifically, by my Jewish friends, really all of my friends, but I've weeded out that like a long time ago. But and all of our Jewish family, my husband's Jewish as well, and everyone has been absolutely incredible, supportive, even if they didn't understand.
Yeah.
They felt comfortable asking questions, and the bottom line is Max is just Max, and we love her for who she is.
Well, I would like to say that this will be the toughest thing you handle as a parent, but I am certain that Josh and Ari will not let you off the hook either. And, we just hope as a community that we continue to be able to love on your family and love all 3 of your kids as long as we get to have them. So,
well, thank you for
sharing with us tonight.
Space very safe, and I appreciate you. Love you.
Oh.
Thank you.
So Leah, Aaron, Eva, and Mike, thank you so much for sharing with us how you have experienced something that's just really changed fundamentally who you are and will continue to change who you are going forward as you continue to reflect on it and grow and learn from it. And this is a season of change, a season of transition, and no less for our Torahs as well. It's really one of my favorite parts. This is the moment where I call it sort of like the kickoff. But those of you who have participated in helping us change our Torah covers in the past, I'm going to ask you to sort of take the lead, but everybody is welcome if they'd like to come forward and help us do that. But everyone would, if you'd please rise at this time. Thank you. So those of you who'd like to come forward and take a Torah, we'd love to have you come do that.
Selichot bochein levavot golei amukot dover tzedakot chatanu lefanecha rachem aleinu chatanu lefanecha rachem aleinu. Ador baniflaot vatik benechamot zocher brit zavot choker kelayot chatanu lefanecha rachem aleinu chatanu lefanecha rachem aleinu tovu meitiv lambriot yotei hakol nistarot chovei shavonot lovei sendakot atanu lefanecha rachem aleinu atanu lefanecha rachem aleinu malei zechuyot nora tehilot Soliach avonot onei beitzarot atanu lefanecha rachem aleinu atanu lefanecha rachem aleinu poel yeshuot Sofe atzidot korei hadorot rochei varavot shomei tefilot charei aleinu chatanu lefanecha rachem aleinu. Selichot bochein levavot golei amukot dover tzedakot chatanu lefanecha rachem aleinu חטאנו לפניך, רחם עלינו. Selichot bochen levavot gole amukot dover tzedakot Adon Selichot bochen levavot gole amukot dover tzedakot חטאנו לפניך, רחם עלינו. חטאנו לפניך, רחם עלינו. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu masim, Aseh imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד והושיענו אבינו מלכנו חוננו בנינו אבינו מלכנו חוננו בנינו כי אין בנו מעשים.
So on the outline for our service tonight, it says Rabbi Lori closing remarks. So my closing remarks are, in fact, short, but something I hope you'll take away, which is the High Holy Day services are not so much longer than our Shabbat services, but they're a little longer, and the prayers are different, and the music is additional. And part of that is because what we're asking ourselves to do over the course of these services together, it's really hard work, and it doesn't just happen in 30 or 45 minutes. It takes focus and meditation and thoughtful reflection and being in this space and giving yourself the permission and time to sit with that and do that work. It not only is, I think, valuable, but if you approach it sincerely and thoughtfully, I believe that when we come to Ne'ilah and the gates close at the end of Yom Kippur and we make Havdalah again, that bookend, which we all really look forward to, that you'll feel different. You'll feel renewed, repurposed, I hope, inspired. I hope we'll rise together to a new place. And as Aaron said, go into this next year with a sense of enthusiasm and clarity. I know that's what I hope for myself during these holy days, and I certainly hope it for you as well. So let's walk together. Let's sit together and sing together and pray together and take as much time in this sacred space as you can. Give yourselves. And I'll look forward to making the blessings to separate from the sacred to the mundane again in just about 2.5 weeks and walking into the new year together. So Shavua Tov, may it be a very good week for all of us. And we'll close our service with these words.
בספר חיים, ברכה ושלום, ופרנסה טובה. בספר חיים, ברכה ושלום, ופרנסה טובה. ניזכר וניכתב לפניך, ניזכר וניכתב לפניך. אנחנו בכל עמך בית ישראל, ואנחנו בכל עמך בית ישראל, לחיים ולשלום ולשלום, לחיים טובים ולשלום.
Please rise as we hear the sound of the shofar. Shavua Tov, everyone. Good job, baby. It's hot here. Hi, Vera. Good, thank you for asking.